Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. How's everyone doing? I can't believe we're almost at the end of the year. 2020 has been a doozy, crazy year. It's been very stressful for a lot of us. It's been great for some. It's been interesting. And I have a wonderful guest on who I'm going to bring out in a few minutes, author and Jollytologist, Klein, which is going to help us look for the joy and the awe in our lives. So I'm really excited about that. Today is going to be a fun show. Just a few updates before I bring Alan on. Next week is going to be a holiday show. And I'm also going to be sharing from my book, Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. It's inspirational. It's nonfiction. It's on manifesting, law of attraction, abundance, using postcards and creativity. And I have writing prompts in the book, and I have exercises, and my photographs of 30 postcards and their manifesting stories are in the book. So I'm going to do a reading from the book, and I'm going to talk about all of that. And it's going to be a really fun show and an uplifting show also. And you're going to hear some of the amazing manifesting stories from friends who have created manifesting postcards. I would love it if you would join me on my social media platforms. So if you are on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, if you would pop on by and engage, I would really appreciate it. Each week I mention, and I have been mentioning on this show, that I have a public Facebook group, Postcards of Love, where you can join and post inspirational posts and stories, art, poetry, anything uplifting. And since I started the radio show, I am seeing more people joining, so thank you for that. I feel like we can never share too much or too many positive stories or beautiful images, so I really appreciate it. You have no idea. I love looking for cool and interesting things to post in the group, and each day it's like a mission to find beauty or inspiration or heartwarming stories and share it. And interestingly enough, I noticed what started happening is that because that's where I'm putting my focus, I'm easily finding new and inspirational and beautiful stories. And these things keep showing up in front of me. And it's happening more and more each week that I am participating and doing it. And I love that. And that's the law of attraction in action. And I'm going to get all into that in more detail next week. You guys, I've mentioned before that I do a Magic Monday message, and this week I created one that is from someone who is tapping into their connection with nature. And I created an image around that with the affirmation, into the woods I connect. If you want to see what I'm talking about, because each week I mention it and you might not know what I'm talking about, you can find them on my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com, or any of my social media platforms. And when I think of the word awe, I think of nature. That is where I feel awe more than anywhere else. And my guest today is going to dive into awe, A-W-E, awe. And what is awe with his new book, The Awe Factor. So I'm just going to read you a short bio on Alan, and then I'm going to bring him on. So Alan Klein, a.k.a. Mr. Jollytologist, I want to say this right, Mr. Jollytologist. He has a new book called The Awe Factor, How a Little Bit of Wonder Can Make a Big Difference in Your Life. It's exploring the human ability to be in awe. What does it mean to be awestruck? Or more simply, what is awe? It's backed by the latest scientific research. Klein sets out to define awe and its effects on health and happiness. He has devoted to over 30 years of his life to encouraging people to lighten up, to embrace a positive attitude. And comedian Jerry Lewis has said that Klein is, quote, a noble and vital force watching over the human condition. He is the recipient of a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Association for Applied Therapeutic Humor, and he's also a TEDx presenter on the power of intention. You can find more information about Alan on his website, alanklein.com. That's ALLEN. KLEIN.com. Welcome, Alan. Thank you for saying yes and being on my show.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Good. I'm glad. So so your book, what is awe, first of all, and what inspired you to write this book?
So if you look in the dictionary, and I didn't even know this before I wrote the book, but awe is defined as something that creates fear and wonder. And I knew it created wonder, but I didn't know about fear.
Yeah, I never heard that. I never heard that until you just said it. Okay, that's interesting.
That is the official kind of definition. And, first I thought, well, what has fear got to do with it? But then I thought more about it. And if you think of, give you one example, a lightning and thunderstorm. You look,
true.
oh, God, that's awesome. Look at the lightning. It is wonder. And then there's a bit of fear, like the sound, particularly as for kids. I remember as a kid hiding under the blanket, when there was a loud crash.
Well, I live in Florida. We're the lightning capital, I think, of the U.S., so we have crazy lightning storms. So I know exactly what you're talking about. That feeling.
So that's the official awe. But that's not what I focus about in the book. I want to focus on everyday awe, the popular awe that's all around us. And the reason I got into this, actually, it's very much connected to the book itself and to how it got published. Because a number of years ago, I had about 7 quotation books with the division of Random House.
Okay.
Random House published them. And then they closed that division, and the books were no longer. And so I tried to sell them for a couple of years to other publishers. And it's hard to sell a book that's already been published. But I just gave up, and I believe in the power of intention, so I put this sign above my computer that said, "The perfect publisher will find me." Mm-hmm. And because I know that when you're struggling too much, sometimes it's negative energy that pushes things away. So I thought, I'm just going to open, see what happens, and let the publisher find me. And I saw that sign for about 2-3 months, and then I went to a meeting where a publicist was going to be speaking, someone who publicizes books. And I sat down on the aisle, and the man next to me was talking to 2 women behind him. And I overheard them say, "We have a very successful publishing company, but we're looking for we're opening a new division, and we're looking for uplifting, motivational, inspirational books." And I said, "Oh, I have 7 of them that were published by Random House and no longer." And they said, "Well, why don't you send them to us?" And they gave me their card. And this was the first awe moment. I looked at the card, Melisa, and their office was 3 blocks away from where I live.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
So I brought the books over, and they started to print some of them, and then they got too big for their little office near me, so they moved to a bigger office, had this huge party, invited me, and I walk in the door. This woman comes up to me. She says, "You don't know me, but I own this company. I live in London, so you haven't seen me. I'm so glad you're with us, and you know what? I know you." And I look at her and I go, "I don't know her. How do you know me?" And she said, I used to live across the street from you, and I'd see you walk your dog every single day.
Oh my God.
Second
Yeah, see,
all
I don't
moment.
believe in, I don't believe in coincidences. So yeah, that's a second all moment. Okay.
So it's like, for me, an all moment is things like that could happen every day, plus other things we'll be talking about. And it's kind of, sometimes this one I categorize as a knock your socks off moment.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people understand those knock your socks off moments of awe. But what I want to talk a little bit about is, especially this year being so challenging and for many very sad and lonely and tragic, right? So how do we find awe in everyday life?
Right. Well, a third of the book is kind of what awe is and some of the scientific research. Second part is the inspiring stories like the one I just told you. And the third part is what you're asking about, awe. I call it awakening prescriptions.
Awakening. I like that. Awakening.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. That's a good play on words. Yeah, cool. Okay.
So, I think we need to, you talked about it. The first step is like intention, putting what do you want to happen? So I think you need to open your eyes to awe because it's all around us. And that section talks about stopping, looking, and listening. But I'll give you one idea that I got from someone else last year before COVID. I signed up, they were having a couple of week thing where every day they would give you a kind of hint or a little something to do every day. So one day it was look for everything in your life that's heart-shaped for that day.
Okay, wait, so just to stop you there. So you were getting like stuff in like an email? You signed up for like an email newsletter that was giving you ideas? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
And they would give you, what would you say, a hint or something to look for in your life that day, and then take a photograph of it.
Okay.
So that year I had planted morning glories around my front gate, and I walked in and out of the house many times, and there they were blooming and growing. And I come back from walking the dog, and in my mindset is find a heart in something. And I look at the leaves of the morning glories. What do you think the shape is? A perfect heart.
Heart, of course, right?
And I had been walking in and out of that gate for several weeks and never even noticed that.
Right. But so the idea was planted in your head. So you started to become aware of looking for those things. And that's what I was talking about in my short intro, is that since I started this group, which I started in the beginning of COVID, because I wanted a group that was a feel good. I wanted stuff that was feel good, beautiful, and inspirational. And now everybody's always asking me, where do you find this stuff? Where do you find these images? Where do you find this? And I'm like, I don't really even have to look anymore. They just kind of show up when I'm scrolling, and that's because my mind is attracted to looking for that. So it shows up for me, which I love.
You say scrolling. One of the things about looking and finding the awe is put down your cell phone, folks.
Yeah, oh God, I know.
If you're looking at your cell phone, you're not going to find the awe in your life.
That's true. It's true. Because many of us, like I said, think of the big things, like seeing their baby being born or going to a trip of a lifetime. But for right now, most of us are, staying home and taking care of ourselves. And each day seems exactly like the last. It's like that movie Groundhog Day. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Groundhog Day.
Several times.
Yeah. Okay. Right? So every day he wakes up, it's like, oh my God, it's the same thing over and over. So how do you look around your small space and find some awe in your life?
Okay. I'll tell you that in a moment, but you just said Groundhog Day and that movie. I had a very funny experience with that movie. I was out of town doing my keynote speaking and had the evening off, so I went to see that movie, and I came out and got in the elevator. It was a multiplex. And there were two young teenagers who had just seen the movie, and one says to the other, "Wasn't that a terrible movie? The same thing happens over and over and over again." And I thought, wait a minute, that's the whole point of the movie.
Right. That's the whole point. That's been like the joke of everybody that I know. It's like, we're losing days. Like, are you sure today's Monday? I could have sworn it was Wednesday or Sunday because every day feels the same. So I know we're just coming up to about the 20-minute mark, and I want to really, so people can really kind of get this, find ways that maybe they're not thinking of how we can find those little moments of awe in our everyday existence. And I don't want you to jump into that because I don't want to stop you when you're in the middle of a thought. So let's take our break right now. We'll come back in 2 minutes and we'll dive into that. Stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Hello, we're back. So I have author Alan Klein on, and we're talking about awe. What is awe-inspiring, awestruck, and where can we find awe in our life, especially right now, in small ways? So, Alan, since you're the expert, I'm going to let you share maybe some things that we don't think of that's in our everyday environment that can cause us to kind of focus down and really appreciate the awness of what's around us.
Well, right now it's getting up to Christmas time, so advise people taking a walk, whether it's in the country, wherever they live, or the city, and just look for the wonderful things associated with the holiday. You know, in my neighborhood, people are putting up their lights and the Santas, and just stop for a moment. I think that's one of the first things you need to do to find out is just stop. Just I call it take a hike.
Take a hike. Well, you think that we're too focused on our phones and distractions that we're missing a lot of the things around us, correct?
That's true. And the other thing with taking a hike is on your hike, and this is another tip, is be curious. Be like a child. A child looks really carefully at stuff, takes things apart sometimes to see how it's made.
It's true.
Stop, whether it's outdoors or whether it's at a florist, look at a flower. And I don't mean just look at a flower, really look at a flower. And, look inside the petals. I just had some roses in the house, and they're amazing as they open. And there were some pink ones that had like sort of a green tinge on the edge that I hadn't noticed before on all the petals. And, you know, a tulip. I was in Holland not too long ago, and they have it's called Keukenhof, maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, Keukenhof Gardens. But, Melissa, they have 7 million tulips in bloom.
Oh, my God. I can't even imagine what that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, that was so awe-inspiring. I mean, I just so vividly in my head, I want to go back and see it again. It was just so incredible. But all the different tulips that I've never even seen before, and then some I've seen, but I stopped to look closer, and it was a red tulip. When I looked inside, it had a yellow center, and around the yellow center was little black kind of wiggly lines. But really, really look. Well,
I think,
stuff.
Yeah, we don't really look, we don't really listen, we don't really take the time to slow down and be present, right? A lot of us are not present. We're always thinking about the past. We're, reliving that or worried about the future. And, a lot of things we take for granted that are around us, all the time. I mean, I always think, something that can give you so much joy and you can be awestruck about or in awe of is if people who have, their pets and how much love they give you, right? Because your pets just love you so much. It doesn't matter what you look like, smell like, sound like, or do, right? There's nothing like the unconditional love of your pets.
Yeah, and I have a story in the book, and this ties in with, grow down, be like a child. Because I was in a cafe, and I had my dog. It was a golden retriever at that time. He had a big fluffy tail. And this young little boy tried to get as close to the tail as he could so he'd get the little breeze in his face. Or maybe get tickled. So he'd have this sensation. And I thought, we don't paying that much detail to this dog and getting such joy and pleasure. So our pets give us that, but even, spend more time with them, be closer to them.
Well,
so that's another way.
I wanted to ask you, so you've published how many books now? Like 30 or something?
Some are reprints with different publishers, different names. But when I add all the books up with different ISBN numbers, which means it's a different book, it's over 30.
Wow. Okay. So I know all of your books are inspirational. So were you always like this, Alan, or did you have to train yourself to become this positive person? Because it doesn't come natural for a lot of us, to be in that state of wonder and positivity. Go ahead.
Yeah. My family was very mixed. My mother was very funny and very adventurous. And when I kicked out of Yale Drama School, that's a whole other story. But
you got kicked out?
Yeah,
I'll hear that story one day.
Another show.
Okay.
It was Yale Drama School. When I called her up, heartbroken, she said, "Don't worry, Alan, everything will turn out for the best." So she was right, and she was very positive. My dad, on the other hand, was very negative. I mean, give you one example, a big parking lot, we're going to a store or a movie complex. He would park as far away as you could from the entrance just so nobody will scratch his car.
Yeah, so he was always he always thought there was going to be an issue or a problem. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. All the time. So I guess I took after my mom, and wasn't always that positive. I think the last show we talked about my wife dying when she was very young and had a great sense of humor, how I got into writing The Healing Power of Humor. But it was after her death that I realized how precious life is. And that we never know, how much time. I mean, it's cliche-ish, right? But it's true.
Right, but it is true.
And
yeah, I know.
Cliches are cliches because they're often true. But we never know, and that I needed to enjoy my life as much as I could. And then somehow in me wanted to share that, the loss and how I turned the loss around, and the humor in life, and to enjoy life, because this is it.
Right.
We don't know
and
what's
that's how you processed your grief, right? Was through humor, and that's why you wrote that book, because you were dealing with grieving through humor. So with this book, The Awe Factor, like, what were you doing? Because I know the book just came out. When did it come out? Last month?
No, this month. It came out December 1st.
Wow. Okay, so it just came out. So what were you doing, like, that inspired you to say, you know what, I want to write something called The Awe Factor?
Well, it's right. In the shower, I just, no. It was a slow progression. It was from humor, from Healing Power of Humor, realizing that actually humor falls under a bigger topic of, like, positivity, when you can find the humor in things and not get so stressed out. So it's more about positivity. So then I wrote a couple of others, which You Can't Ruin My Day, which may be the book we talked about last time, which is about positivity, or Embracing Life After Loss, which is how to go through grief and learn from it. Again, positivity. And then this book, The Awe Factor, because I start seeing all these awe-related things in my life that just blew me away, that, as you said, knocked my socks off.
Wow. So you are seeing these things every day when you're just going about your day. Even in this challenging year of 2020, you're still can be in that space.
Well, what I've done, and it's really helped me, is look for the positive in the negative. And one of the joys these days, and it probably will continue long after COVID, my daughter lives in the same city I do, San Francisco. And we usually see each other maybe twice a month. Well, since March, every day at 5 o'clock, we're on the phone chatting with each other. And some days I think, well, what am I going to talk about today? And then we get on at 5 o'clock and half hour goes by and we have chatted. And what's so fabulous is I know she brings me joy. I think I bring her joy. We laugh a lot. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just talk about what we're having for dinner. A number of times she wanted to know about my history or her grandparents' history. And so she said, Dad, I never knew that. This is fabulous. And so just that little thing has lifted me up every single day.
That's good. So you're you're being present in your daily conversations with your daughter now, where maybe like, we have our twice a month where before COVID we'll catch up, go have lunch or something. But now every day you're being present in those
day. Yep.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I do notice that more people, there are a lot of people struggling for sure. And I don't want to make light of that for those that are. But I know a lot of people are having the deeper conversations or connecting with their friends or family on deeper levels because of this, right? Because we're not so distracted by going out and being out everywhere, which is kind of is a blessing in all of this.
Right.
And I love. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You. I want to hear about you.
Well, I was saying in the book, I talk about mini awe and major awe, and to me, this phone call every single day is like a mini awe. Or the other day, it was a friend's birthday that I hadn't spoken to in a long time. So I called up and wished them happy birthday. And she was like, we talk about making other people's day. I think it's bringing a little on her life. I'm so happy you called. This is amazing. Just
right. Well, and in the book, you broke it down. Like you talk about different attributes of all, like what's nature made all and human made all, and then you talk about chance meeting all and chance happening all. And I wanted to jump in a little bit about looking for a sign all, because I love looking for signs, and everybody, all my friends love looking for signs, and we're always telling each other, "Oh my God, I got another sign." And so what do you mean when you say looking for a sign awe?
Well, I'll tell you one from years ago that again knocked me on my feet. I was this is before I wrote The Healing Power of Humor, but I was studying humor and therapeutic humor. And I gave a workshop on it, probably one of my first workshops. And it was a 3-hour workshop. And right before the break, I noticed way in the corner of the room there was a woman that looked like my deceased wife.
Oh, wow.
And I was shocked. I was like, studied for a while, and I thought, well, the break's coming up. I'm going to go talk to her when it's over. And I started to go towards her, and someone tapped me on the shoulder to ask me a question. I turned around, and then when I finished answering, I turned back to that other woman that was in the corner. She wasn't there. And she never came back after the break. Now, I question, was this an image I had? Was this real? I have no idea. But talking about signs, I took it as a sign that my wife was approving of what I was doing and that I should keep on talking about therapeutic humor.
I love that. Yeah, I always ask for signs if I am questioning something or want an answer for something that I may be on the fence about. So, and I am, it's funny because we're talking about awe, but I am always in awe when I get the sign, right? It's true. You have that feeling, and the feeling of awe is like goosebump feeling, that catch your breath feeling, like that. Yeah. I can't believe this happened feeling kind of thing. Like, no way. Yeah. That's crazy I just had that experience. And that's really what awe feels like.
Yeah, you say goosebumps, and the number one, what's the word I want? The number one way we get goosebumps is by change of temperature. But the number 2 way is by seeing something that awes us, like the Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls or a double rainbow. It's
That's
the number
true.
2 way to get some goosebumps.
So we should work on giving ourselves more goosebumps by looking for more ways
that would be nice.
To have awe, right?
Yeah. You also, this is interesting. I think you mentioned nature, and actually nature is the number one inspiring way to get more awe in your life. childbirth is the second on the list. But science has found, researchers have found, you don't have to go, say, in the forest or Grand Canyon to get on your life. You could just look at a picture, a nature picture, and some of that awe will start to, the positive benefits of awe will start to emerge.
Yeah, I definitely know that to be true because I'm so attracted to those beautiful photographs of nature, and that's like most of the stuff that I think I share in my group is like beautiful, beautiful landscapes, beautiful cityscapes because I'm in awe, and it gives me that feeling. So it's like a good addiction. Let me put it to you that way.
Yeah. And
finding these beautiful images.
One of the researchers found seniors are prone to depression and anxiety, and they did an experiment, I think it was for 8 weeks, something like that, and they took them a couple of times a week. They took the seniors on what they call awe walks, whether to find something in the city where they are or something in nature that awed them, that was wonder for them, that lifted them up, and they found after those 8 weeks, the seniors were less depressed and less anxious.
I love that. Oh my God, that's good. I gotta share that with some people that I know. Okay, so we're right at the mark to take our second break. So let's do that now before we dive back into this conversation of awe. Stay tuned.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter, yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm back with Alan Klein, and we're talking about the awe factor. So I have Alan's book in front of me, actually, as I'm sitting here talking to you on the air. And you mentioned in your book, like I said, you have it broken down into sections and obviously the chapters. In each chapter, you're talking about a different awe factor. And I want to ask you about, well, you know what? I'm going to ask you this one first because I'm all about the manifesting. What do you mean by manifesting awe?
Creating.
Creating. Yeah, that's what I love to do. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think sometimes maybe we expect awe to like either be something, you know, like the Grand Canyon, that I can't get it because I'm not going to the Grand Canyon, or I don't have that around me. But actually one of the researchers, one of the big researchers in the subject, Dashiell Keltner, talks about two myths about awe. One is that awe is rare, and he's interviewed people in 30 different countries, and different countries we don't, but other countries say they have found things that awe them an average of 2.5 times a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So it's not rare. It's not rare.
It's not rare. And the other thing is that you have to go someplace special. And this is really what my book is about, that you don't, that it's there all the time. You have to open your eyes. You have to set your intention in order to manifest the awe. Because it is there. We just, you know, it's like we're on the cell phone and don't see the things around us. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I like the fact that there's actual research that says that it's not rare, because I think a lot of people think it is. And we were talking during the break about familiar objects awe. So I was looking up what familiar objects awe is, and the one thing that jumped out at me was the bubbles. We were talking about bubbles. And I said to Alan, I'm like, if you ever want to know the awe factor of bubbles, all you have to do is watch a baby look at bubbles, or cats or dogs look at bubbles. Right? They're like, they're in total awe of bubbles.
I have told, and now I'm going to tell your audience.
Okay.
When I die, I want everyone to blow bubbles.
Oh, that's good.
Because to me, one bubble is like the various colors that we are, that as we go through life. It's also very delicate. It's very beautiful. It's very ethereal. It just floats through the air. I don't know. To me, it's akin to someone's life, and each bubble is a different size, a different shape. I was in the park a couple of weeks ago when somebody was blowing these gigantic bubbles, which they weren't even round. They were like amorphous shape.
Yeah. I know exactly which kind you're talking about, where they have the big stick and they make these beautiful shapes. And yeah, they're cool. Well, it's like, I don't want to sound like we're simplifying stuff in the sense like, oh, be all about this or this. But the truth of the matter is the most positive people that I know I've ever come across, the happiest people are the people that are present in their life and are filled with gratitude about what is in their environment. And that can be bubbles. It can be, you know, the Grand Canyon. It doesn't really matter what it is. You know, it could be the simple little things in their home. Those are the happiest people that I know. And I think that they have awe. They live in awe and gratitude.
Yeah, the other thing I write about in the book is if you think life is like a total mystery. There's so much. I mean, the body is so amazing. I'm learning a lot about eyes because I have glaucoma and it's getting worse. And the eye is like, how did God or whoever created? How did they put this together? That the image is like reflected back and then it goes to the brain and it has so many little capillaries and whatever they call those little things that all help us to see, and it's just so amazing. And I've gone to 2 glaucoma conferences, and the things they're coming up with to cure this disease is amazing. Like I might have a little tube put in my eye that's thinner than the hair on your head to help it drain, to help the fluid drain.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, when something, their body gets older or things start happening or disease comes around or presents itself, a lot of people resent their bodies. They resent it. So how would you, how are you feeling about the glaucoma? Because it doesn't sound, I don't know, I'm assuming here, but it doesn't sound like you're in resentment about it at all.
Well, I'm nervous about an operation on my eye, of course, particularly as an author.
Of course.
But I'm also amazed at what they can do and what they are. They're talking about research right now, restoring sight to people who are totally blind, and they're having some luck in mice with it. So it just, if you can step back and look at things, it's just so amazing. Or when we look up at the heavens, what's out there is just a mystery on some levels and magnificent on another.
Yeah. I believe it is really, you have to retrain yourself if it doesn't come natural to you, to be the kind of person that, looks at the universe and is awe-inspired about the creation, or, can find the simple joy and awe in their own life. And maybe you're like thinking, oh, I can't do that. I don't have that. I'm not like that. It takes practice, right? What would you tell somebody to do? Write down things that, to kind of retrain themselves. What would you recommend?
Well, just what we've been talking about is set your intention when you get up in the morning. What are you going to look for that might make you happier or find some awe in your life that day? And write it down. And then the next day try to find something, or just for the week if you can't do it for the day. But just or look around and see things differently. I remember I went on a retreat once, and they gave us a raisin, a common raisin. And the whole group held their own raisin in their hand and looked at it. And the instructor said, look at your raisin. None of them in this group are the same. Each one is totally different. And then we put it in our mouth, and we slowly chewed it for maybe 10, 15 minutes, the same one raisin. And got the flavor, and noticed how we broke the skin, and noticed there were little seeds, and, and the taste, and finally swallowed it. And I had never looked at a raisin that way before or again,
I'm sure. Right. I would never think to look at a raisin like that, really. I really wouldn't, unless you mentioned it. And I know you share a little bit about that in the book, but you're right. Those are the things.
Or dinner, or lunch. How often do we just sit there and gobble it down without noticing the different tastes or textures or flavors, or, is it hot, is it cold, is it sweet, is it sour? Just observe. What I'm saying is, for one day at least, I'm going to observe. I'm going to do meditative eating, or meditative walking, or meditative looking.
Yeah, I like that, meditative looking. That's good. Now, so your book just came out in December 1st. What have you been hearing? Anything from readers yet about your book? What are people saying?
Well, I did notice that Amazon didn't have copies right away, and then got them in and sold out and didn't have copies again. So
that's good. That means
think
people are buying it.
I have no
Right?
idea how many copies they had. They may have only had 2. I don't know, but somebody's buying it, so that's good. It's a little early to get reviews in.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
just a couple of weeks, but
Yeah. I know. As an author myself, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. I know how that goes.
But
you get so
my
excited
first
when you get a
book-
review.
First book, Healing Power of Humor, is now in a 40-some-odd printing and 9th foreign language. And I think this book, I talked about I've written over 30. This book compares to that book and is as good and very well written, I must say. Very entertaining. It's not very dry. But the reason I say that is because when the Healing Power of Humor came out about therapeutic humor, people hadn't heard about that. It was like something new, a new concept. And I think the fact that awe could help us be healthier and enjoy life better is also a new concept. A lot of people, as we talked at the beginning of the show, only thought awe was seeing, God-like image or something like that, and it doesn't have to be. And I don't know that many people have written about that or understand that or heard about that. So I think this book is well written and as important as my first book.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, life is short. Even if you live 100 years, it's still short. I mean, compared to eternity, right? What's that, a blip?
Right.
So we might as well make it as joyful and as exciting and as pleasurable as we can.
And it's all filled.
And it's all filled, exactly.
As we can, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know a little bit about your writing. So have you always, you've written a lot of books, so obviously you've been writing for many years, but did you always want to be a writer, or did you fall into it and realize, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
No, actually, I did write a poem in grade school about the principal, but other than that, I was more into art. I became a scenic designer at CBS Television.
Nice.
Designed
So you're a
such
visual
shows
artist.
as Jackie Gleason, Merv Griffin, but my big show was Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, okay.
Children's show where I had to think like a child. So I think that joy, that little seed was planted at that time about thinking, seeing the world through the eyes of a child.
Seeing the world. Well, yeah, that makes sense when if you look up Alan and you see the titles of his book, you'll understand that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it really does. Do you write every day? Is that part of your daily practice, or
when I have a book contract? Oh yes, because deadlines come up pretty, as you know.
I do know.
There's a deadline. You signed on to this, and
that's true.
Yeah, and now I'm publicizing every day to get the word out, because you can write the world's bestseller, and if no one knows about it. I
know. That's why, part of the reason of wanting to have this show was not only for myself to talk about my book, but to promote other authors, because you want people to see what, the good stuff that's out there, the good works that are being written. And, who knows, between the show and then this show becomes a podcast on OMTimes later, they'll put it up as a podcast that goes all over the world. And then I take it and make it a podcast that goes all over the world.
Yeah.
It's a good way of.
I am so grateful for what you are doing, because,
Thank you.
As I just said, if people don't know about it, it doesn't do any good. I
know, it's true.
And I know books help people. I get letters all the time, emails now about, when I'm, like my Healing Power of Humor, I get a letter saying, my son was killed last year, and this book really helped me, or like that. So it helps people, but they got to know about it.
They got to know about it. Well,
Yeah.
what's the best way for people to find you? So your book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and, of course, Mango Publishing. They can find it on there, too. And the best way for people to reach out to you, what would you recommend?
On my website, www.allen, A-L-L-E-N, Klein, Klein.com, AllenKlein.com.
AllenKlein.com. Okay, anything that you want to, because we only have like 2 minutes left, not even, anything you want to leave us with before I wrap up?
Yeah, yes, the world has negative stuff in it, but it also has positive. It has joyful, it has awesome stuff. And maybe put that negative stuff behind you for a bit and start looking for all that uplifting, inspirational, good stuff.
Perfect. And you can find that on Alan Klein's book, The Awe Factor. And of course, you can find it with my book, Postcards to the Universe. And thank you so much, Alan, for being here today. It was really great having you and having this all inspiring conversation. I'm going to use the word awe more and more.
Great.
It's great.
And you are awesome. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys. I so appreciate you joining me each week and listening to my show, Postcards to the Universe, with Melisa, creating the life you crave. And I will see you all next week. We're going to have a great show next week. I'm going to do a little holiday special. So have a wonderful week. Sending everyone lots of love. Peace.